There are 5 areas of development, and I think it's important to look at the whole child. Sometimes we overfocus on things that maybe we're concerned about, but maybe it would be important to look at the whole child. So there are 5. Social development is the first one. We're talking about the interactions with other children and cooperating with other kids and things like that. There's language development, which is expressive language, is what they can say, and receptive language is what they understand. So this is something that we look at too in terms of their development. The cognitive development is really that academic piece. So we're looking at, from counting to identifying letters and saying their alphabet and those particular things. The other area of development is physical and motor development. So we're talking about gross motor, then, their physical abilities, and also their fine motor abilities. So, the writing or the coloring and things like that. And the last area of development that we like to consider for looking at the whole child really is the emotional development. So that's also important to look at. It could be a very sensitive child. It could be, so it's really to talk about, those things as well. We talked about them have some interest in their letters and can recognize some of their letters, their uppercase letters, but that's just a good tip. We talked a lot also about what they need to know, in terms of their cognitive development. So we talked about how they should, hopefully have interest in numbers, and we can use our environment to see numbers and then just, casually say, hey, what's that person's address when you go visit someone, things like that. Turn things into games, whether it's, oh, wow, look at the red slide, or look at the blue pail, or use the colors, use the shapes, use the numbers, use the letters in their environment and make it relevant for them in their daily life, so that it's not like sitting down, because really I don't believe in that, is to sit down and this is what you should know. Every child has different learning style. So some kids are visual, some kids are auditory, some are both. So we really want them to just have fun and meet some of these in the 5 areas of development. If they're not meeting all of the things, that's okay. If you're really concerned, please consult your pediatrician, obviously, and the pediatrician may refer you to whatever professional that is needed, whether it's a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, or a psychologist if it's anxiety or whatever. But it really has to be something that you're super concerned about. Perhaps the daycare or the preschool is also concerned, and that that they feel there needs to be an intervention before elementary school. Right. Otherwise, these things fall into place. So this is not meant to stress anybody. It's really a guideline.
Right.
So it's important to remember that, and that these things do eventually, place themselves. I was lucky enough to consult with West Park Elementary, which is one of the Lester B. Pearson schools, and they gave us some great feedback. The kindergarten teachers got together and were able to list pretty much the same kind of areas of development and what they're expecting from the kids coming through. And the French is also something. Add on all of these, but then the other thing, a concern that I saw from the families who came, and what I hear also at our preschool in terms of phone calls, is, what do I do? My child is Anglophone, or my child doesn't know any in French. What do we do? I can give some tips now. Certainly, one of the things that's super important is not to stress about the French.
Yes.
That is very important, because parents get worried, especially if it's an Anglophone home. So perhaps, what you can do is buy CDs that are French, so they're listening to French music, and then that's part of their environment. Another thing that I truly recommend as well is watching, suppose your child is into Dora, or is into princesses, or into superheroes, whatever it is. If there are episodes that they've watched in English, try and find them in French and have them play have them listen to those episodes, and so that they're familiar with the premise of that episode, and they'll know what happens, and then they're getting those French vocabulary words also.
Right.
That's another thing. Another thing that's also a great idea is to register your children in French activities. So maybe perhaps whether it's French, maybe go to a library where they have, French story time, or like story time, done in French, so they're looking at books in French, or perhaps they're doing, maybe it'll be gymnastics, and maybe the gym teacher or whatever is teaching in French, or that the students are francophone.
It's just, I guess, about exposure.
Exposure. Choosing a school, it has to, number one, align with what you're looking for as a family. If you're looking, and it has to look at your personal situation too. If, for example, your family doesn't have the English eligibility, which is a paper that you need to get from the government, then which allows you to send your child to English school, then with someone who has that paper, they can send them to the English school board. In the West Island here, it's the Lester B. Pearson School Board. In other areas, there are other English school boards in Montreal. There's the English Montreal School Board, there's Sir Wilfrid Laurier School Board, and the French school board is the Marguerite Bourgeois School Board. And so every person here in the West Island will be zoned for 1 or 2 French immersion schools, perhaps 1 bilingual school, and 1 French school. So then it's a parent's decision. Do I want to send my child? Where do I want to send my child? And of course, then there's the private system as well. So that would be a school where it's a private school. There are French private schools, and then there are English private schools. Right. So then that's, again, a personal choice, and that you have to pay more money for, whereas the public system, you're just paying for your books, and there are different fees. There's daycare fees and all kinds of fees like that.
Right.
So in terms of that decision, you also have to look at your child. So aside from your personal goals, you also have to look at your child. And if your child, seems to be meeting all the 5 areas of development, and they're coping very well, and they've been listening to the French language, or perhaps they haven't, but you see that they learn, and they're following the neurotypical, line, then, then you can be looking at, the French immersion, or the Français plus, or even French schools. And now there are bilingual schools. In the English school board, in the Lester B. Pearson School Board, there's also bilingual schools. Those are 50-50, so 50 French, 50 English. Whereas French immersion is 90-10, so 90%.
French immersion, though, is that considered an English school with the immersion? So it would be 90% French and 10% English.
Yeah. So
even though it's an English school.
You're right, Elizabeth.
Okay.
So exactly. But let me just clarify. So I know it's a little bit detailed, but it's what I understand. If I'm mistaken, please let me know. But my understanding is this, that in a French immersion school, it is in the English system. Okay. So all English schools in the Montreal area will have a French immersion program. Okay. And the Lester B. Pearson School Board, it is 90% French, kindergarten 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 is 50-50, half French, half English.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Français plus, which has just been introduced a few years ago, is also in the Lester B. Pearson School Board, and that is just an added few years of French immersion is all it is. So instead of K1-2, like it is for French immersion, you're going kindergarten 1, 2, 3, 4 French immersion. Right. And then 5, 6 is 50-50. That's what Français plus means. And then you have the bilingual schools. My understanding of that is it's 50-50 from kindergarten to grade 6. So, a parent who just wants their child to know a little bit of French and more of an English instruction will choose a bilingual school. And then you have all the French private schools, which those have entrance exams and those have interviews. So in the Lester B. Pearson School Board and the English Montreal School Board and all those others, you don't have interviews to get into those schools. You just go to the open houses and you find out what your zoned school is, and you can contact the school boards for that, and find out, give them your address, let them know what your address is, and then they'll let you know what you're zoned for. Okay, and then you can go to the open houses of the schools you're zoned for. But you can also, in the English system, in the Lester B. Pearson School Board, you can actually go to all the open houses that you want. That happens here in my school here at the Jardin Enfant Beechwood Preschool. I have, usually in January, parents give me a lot of questions on this because now the open houses are starting at the end of January, early February. And so they're trying to figure out, what do they do? Do they do the Lester B. Pearson School Board? Do they do French private school, or do they do French public?
Right.
So this is that big decision that they have to do. So the open houses, you can go to, but you end up having to register at your zoned school. So you have to, if you decide that you want to go to another English school, you can apply. It doesn't mean you're going to get in, but you can apply. It's transfer of schools, but you do have to apply at your zoned school. Now in the French system, Marguerite Bourgeois, my understanding is they don't have open houses, first of all, from my understanding. So you really find out your zoned school and you apply there, and that's it. And that's how they because they have such an influx and an interest in their schools because of the people who do not have their English eligibility, whether it's people who were not born here, or their parents did not get an English education here, then they have to go to a French school. So that becomes the decision. I don't know if I'm helping out a little bit with that.
If you have more questions about that, please feel free to comment in the post. That way it can clarify for everybody, Imperfect Moms. If you guys want any of the information in the handout, I will have a copy of it. I can upload it onto the site as well if you're showing me any interest. And I'd love for Caroline, if she doesn't mind, to just introduce her school a little bit. So if you are interested in coming to this beautiful school that I just had a tour of, then at least you'll have that information as well, and you can always take a peek at the sign here, which is also the school. So
yeah, so Jardin Enfant Beechwood Preschool, we have a website. It's www.beechwoodpreschool.com. Beechwood is BEECHWOOD, and preschool is one word. So it is, we also have a Facebook page. You're more than welcome to like the Facebook page. On there, you will see lots of activities that we do. We have a 2-year-old program, a 3, and a 4-5. So the 4-5 is the pre-K program. It is the kindergarten readiness program. This year we have 16 grads going off to elementary school. And the 2-year-old class, for the 2s, they attend 2 or 3 days a week. So they can attend the program is Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And the hours are 8:30 to 12:30. It's a 4-hour block. And so they have gym time, they do art, they do all kinds of, the whole school. We have a wonderful gym, we have a stage, we do concerts, we have field trips, we have enriched programs. But just to say to you that the older class, you could do more. In the pandas, the 3s, and the 4-5s, the pre-Ks, you can register 2, 3, 4, or 5 days a week. So if you want to call me, it's 514-833-6025, and it's Jardin Enfant Beechwood Preschool. It is a French immersion preschool, so we definitely get those kids ready with the French component as well. So our students usually go off to either the French immersion schools, the Français Plus schools, the French public, the French private. Usually our students, I do feed those schools.
So there will be a link in the comments of this video. You're more than welcome to click on that link. It'll be to her Facebook page. I can also include the the website, so you can click on that as well.
And I had one last thing to say. We do have an open house. We have an open house and registration in February. So it's February 2nd, Friday. That's in the evening. It's 7 to 9 p.m. And on Saturday, the next day, the 3rd of February, and that is 2 to 4 in the afternoon. The address is 116 Rue Cartier in Roxborough, and we're located off Sources behind Adonis.
Perfect. And we can have Caroline actually advertise for that open house. So it reminds all of us mommy brains when that is exactly.
It would be a pleasure.
And of course, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to Caroline. I want to thank you so much for doing the presentation today.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to meet you and a lot
you.
of great information. So again, reach out.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day, mommies. Bye.
You too.